Okay, the streaming should be on now. Okay, the streaming should be on now. Okay, the streaming should be on now. Can you hear me? Streaming should be on now. Can you hear me? Streaming should be on now. Can you hear me? Streaming should be on now. Great. Can you hear me? So great. Can you hear me? So great. Can you hear me? So great. So let's get this started. I'm Aerisarn from Skyblivion development team. I am in charge of converting Oblivion creature into the Skyrim engine. And I'm Aerisarn. Right now, I'm just waiting for some feedback that everyone is able to hear me and there are no strange sounds as before. And I'm Aerisarn. Okay, but we'll start. I'm just waiting for some feedback that everyone is able to hear me and there are no strange sounds as before. And I'm Irish. Okay, but we'll start. I'm just waiting for some feedback that everyone is able to hear me and there are no strange sounds as before. And I'm Irish. Okay, but we'll start. I'm just waiting. Okay, I hope now you don't have any feedback, but I didn't get the tip Rebel Size sent me about muting Twitch. I have everything muted right now. Is it better? Okay, so thank you for the support and for all the info, Kyle. And we are going to take a look on how to convert Oblivion creature to the Skyrim engine, which is quite the daunting task because The two engines are really different, and even if they're both Havoc based for Creature, Skyrim was very difficult to adapt because there were many changes. So let's get it on, and today we're gonna have some fun with a goblin, which, by the way, I invite you all to see the preview that has been realized for the Skyblivion Goblin. Right now, our aim, or better to say, my aim, is to make the creature work, but probably we're going to have also new meshes for the creature. So Skyrim actually needs a lot of resources for creature to work, and I had to make some tools to automate the the actual creature generation. So I'm gonna show you the flow, and we start obviously from 3D Studio Max, in which we're going to import some assets from the original file, the original game Oblivion. But before that, let's have a look to the Havoc Behavior tool. This was the last public release that Havoc very kindly gave out until they get both by Microsoft and the story ended. And we're going to make a new project for our creature. Let's see. And we're going to call it Goblin. Okay, so you have to understand this is the main tool we're going to use for having a new asset for Skyrim, which includes a new project file, a new asset, and a new behavior. And actually in Skyrim all the creatures belong to a single project, and this is the way the coupled animation, the paired one, were actually made and are working. But right now, for the purposes of this stream, we're going to use a brand new project just in case. And okay, so first things first, we need a new character, which is obviously the Goblin. And as you can see from this window, for the Goblin to actually appear, we're going to need a rig, which is actually the skeleton, and a ragdoll paired to that skeleton. So let's go to 3D Studio Max and open one of the original assets. And I've already expanded my BSAs, and here's the Goblin. Each creature has a skeleton nymph, which is the actual skeleton. Game is Oblivion, and we're going to import the skeleton, and we're going to need the collision also. You have to understand this is a custom made plugin, and you'll see why as soon as I import. You see there are some differences between the normal Max plugin import and this one. Particularly, you can see these kind of squares here, indications of rigid bodies, plus all the capsules that are imported from the skeleton in this case are of solid and different colors instead of being just wireframe, red wireframes you usually see when you import a skeleton inside 3D Max. I had to do this because Skyrim actually needs the skeleton in two different formats, one of which is proprietary and it's Havoc serialization, the HKX file that is inside the animation BSAs for each creature that has a skeleton. And so to be able to produce this file, I had to rewrite some part of the Max plugin to make it work fine with the Havoc content tools. So yep, here it is. Let's see if everything is working out. This is the Havoc content tools manager, and it's actually very complicated, and there are like a million of options to create different kinds of assets, and this is directly coupled with the Havoc behavior tool, so we have right now to use these to produce the assets we need for the game. And now it's time to load a configuration for having the right output, but of course I have like a million files related to Skywind, and so I didn't prepare out everything in the right way as I definitely should, but I'll figure it out. This conversion process can only generate a single asset each time. So for example, for the animation you have a specific configuration and you have to find a way. Personally, I didn't max script to export everything, but you have to create both the skeleton, the meshes, and each single animation. And here we are. Okay. So briefly, what we're going to do, we're going to transform the scene. It means that we have to do a conversion from inches to meters because Havoc is configured to use meters, while Skyrim is configured to use inches. So this step is only necessary for the preview. And then we're going to create a skeleton. For this time, I think we can do it automatically, but just to be sure, I'm going to use a rig. What is a rig, you may ask, and I'm going to show you. Actually, a rig is just a txt file where you have listed all the bones that are going to be used as the skeleton. So here it is. For the goblin, we have this rig, and now we see that we have a float slots, which shouldn't happen because for Skyrim we have to use a convention for things to get a little bit simple for the root bone, and so I have to switch the name of the root bone. Okay, and now if we load again, okay, I missed the space. Damn. And is case sensitive also, which I didn't remember. Thanks. And now this skeleton is actually configured fine. Pay attention that this order is actually important. So the first time you generate a new skeleton, you can avoid to pay attention to the order, and you can use the automatic rig building. But for example, to export a second animation coupled to the same skeleton as the first, you'll have to use exactly this order, as this automatic build rig usually determine a new order, particularly for complicated skeletons. You have to save the rig as file, as I did, and you'll obtain a nice txt, and you can use from file and use file order, which is the important option. Okay, so this is actually the rig, but we also need a ragdoll, which also is a skeleton. Let's put it this way: the capsule itself are seen by the Havoc content tools as bones, and so they have hierarchy, and also they are coupled by the constraints. So to be able to create a ragdoll, we need to have also another skeleton which will be used. So the skeletons are actually separated, so we can just select the main bone, the main capsule, and everything will just appear in this box. And okay, here we can just use all the all the standard option, and pay attention eventually for the enable chunk subdivision, because this may get important for some work we're going to do later. And we create a rigid body, create constraints, and we create a ragdoll. And this time we can use the skeleton we configured on the step we did before, and we're going to need a mapping between the bones and the actual ragdoll. So here's the skeleton A, and this is our ragdoll. And to define mappings, we can just use autoname, because actually the ragdoll are imported with the original coupled bone name and a prefix ragdoll underscore 4. And right now we should be able to see our ragdoll. Here it is. Let's check if someone. Okay. Yes, you can also see this window. Let's play. Oh god. Yeah, right now we just made the constraints for the ragdoll, and the Havoc physics simulates that as it's actually into empty void, so it just falls down due to gravity. We can see by some steps if our constraints are made in a way that, for example, keep the creature all together in a decent state, and I don't see any limb falling apart, so it's in work. Okay, so we can use another configuration for actually creating the asset we need. Here we are. Let's remove this. Okay. So, as I said, we need both the rig and the ragdoll, and we're going to need the same file, so we actually do again the same configuration. That's how friendly the Havoc tool is. It doesn't remember any setting. Well, actually the settings are linked to the scene, so if I was to save the scene, I will have the settings saved. And here we are, Goblin. Okay. Just to be sure, we select that. Okay. I should probably put some music on, but I'm afraid there's going to be feedback or something misconfigured, and so you're going to just hear silence. By the way, by the next stream I may actually have something better to show, but I wanted to start from the beginning. And so we create mapping, and this time instead of having a preview, we're going to prototype, which means we're going to remove some info from the scene, and that's because we don't actually need the whole scene for Skyrim engine to produce the ragdoll. So we're going to prune all the nodes, the meshes and the skins, of course, the animation, and leave the environment data, because we have some structures inside that they are going to be used by the game. And let's save it in our brand new folder we did for the Goblin. Okay. There are no errors, so this seems to be quite nice. Okay. Now, by the way, let's see. We have to save and reload to see the file actually appear. And now in our character asset folder we have the skeleton, so we can use it as a rig, and as you can see, you should have actually don't know very well why the tool isn't showing the skeleton without a mesh, but we're going to produce that as well. So let's get back here and we reset the scene because we don't want the mesh to include also the capsules from the ragdoll, and so we can import back the skeleton, this time without the collision. Here it is. We rename again the root node, and now we can import the mesh. Actually, Oblivion has the meshes separated by some different file, so I'm just going to use a mesh I've already put together. Let's see, here it is. Skin modifier. This time the format is actually this one, and we don't want to import the skeleton, instead being bind to the existing one in the scene. Here we go. And we have to export the mesh too. So again, let's load a configuration file for exporting the mesh because it's a whole different story. Here it is. Remove the transform scene, and here we again create the skeleton because we are going to export a skin mesh, and so we need indications about the skeletons, but we are going to have different steps. Here we create tangents, skins, and we also gather and convert texture because otherwise the tool will just show gray or bluish or purplish mesh, but right now this filter has some problems in having the right configuration for the exporting, so we're going to ignore that and have a mesh without textures. By the way, obviously the mesh in Skyrim is handled by the NIF, and we're going just to have this simple mesh to make the things easier inside the tool, and so we don't actually need the textures right now. Okay. Whoops. Too much folders. Okay. And even here we need our rig. Should save a skeleton with the root bone actually named like this, but I wanted to start from scratch, so what's its problem? I actually have the root this time. This is strange. I always forget the space. That's not good because I forgot the space before, and probably the mesh won't be skin. So it's better to start over, and this is how boring is doing something like that, so that you now have idea, and I'm going to take a shortcut and just use an existing skeleton which is named correctly, and now have the mesh imported. Here it is, and now our skeleton is correct, and we can proceed in having the mesh exported. Yes, you didn't find the textures. That's not a problem. Okay. Oh, this time as we actually configured a goblin with at least one asset, now the tool is able to understand we exported something from max, and so yes, I want to reload it, and I can use the mesh I've exported. And this is one of the problem. Actually, if you don't convert inches to meters, the tool is going to have a bad time displaying the mesh, but okay, this is quite okay. So this is how you export a ragdoll and skeleton and the mesh for the tool to actually have a goblin. We don't need to mess with anything right now because we also need an animation for the creature to do something. So let's close, let's reset and import an animation. This time we're going to use again original resources from Oblivion. So here we are, goblin, and where is the skeleton? Yeah. Again, we don't need collision for animation to be imported, and I used the wrong format. Okay, and now let's import an animation like let's just take an idle. Yes. Okay. Let's see. This is fine. So after the usual renaming, we can use another configuration for our animation. Again, we avoid to transform the scene. We use the same rig for everything, otherwise the Skyrim engine will mess up with the animation. And here we are. Okay, we use the create animation filters. Of course, we're not going to use any offset, but for example, this can be useful if you do a paired animation and you want to export with one or the other creature, you can move to the origin. We don't need to name the animation tracks, they are actually unnamed into the Skyrim resources. And we're going to have the extract motion filters, even if the idle animation won't actually have any movement in the word space. This is a general option that should be on for every animation you export. Just be sure there isn't any strange movement that will be exported and will make the creature glitch in the game. Skyrim uses this spline compression for the animation. Again, we have to remove some information. This time we remove the skeletons, of course the meshes and the skins, but we just remove the track names from the animation and we leave the others. Let's save it. So let's see, creatures, animation, idle is okay. Okay, no warning, we have the right number of bones and we exported the animation. Yes, let's see. Ooh. Maybe the preview window in this tool is really messed up. And it's very difficult to control. Something, it isn't working, I guess. And why is that? We have our skeleton with the right order. We create animation, extract motion. We prune the necessary type and right platform, impact file. And the right thing, that should work. Can adjust the far clip. When this is happening, it's usually due for some kind of misconfiguration about proportion. I should go over the steps again, but actually I'm too lazy to do it now, so I'm just going to use the project I was using before starting the screen, and here it is. nothing is working again. Okay, I've already gone over the process of having all the animation converted. Let's play one. Block. Okay, and as you can see, this project is actually configured exactly like the other one and already has all the assets configured. Let's delete this and we start over. So here's the goblin, and we're going to make him do something. For that to happen, we're going to need a behavior. Let's call it idle, and there must be at least one state, and in our case we're going to have him idle. Okay, and here it is. So once the simulation starts, our goblin will just idle out. And okay, now the goblin project is configured right to actually start some behavior and Skyrim export. And as you can see, we have behavior file, both the skeleton and the mesh, and also of course the project, which won't see here but has this organization. I want to rename the behavior and now we're ready to configure the project to use a tool I've made to convert this kind of project. You see, this is Havoc behavior to 6.6, while Skyrim is actually use the 2010 version. So we'll have to upgrade the project for Skyrim to use it. And these are the parameters. I'm going to let out a tutorial on how to do it, but it's actually quite easy. You have the release, you can grab the tool from GitHub, and you have to insert some macros, actually all the various directories for the tool to work, but this will be clear after we do the export. Okay, let's do it. This is actually the tool that is working, and it's processing all the assets because there are a lot of changes to be made from a standard project for work to the Skyrim engine. And this will create a nice folder into the export directory. Okay, so after executing the export, we have some folders here we're going to use into the Skyrim installation. So let's go to Game, Steam, and so on. Here in Data Meshes, we can create a new folder for our creature. Zilaf won't be actually pleased by this convention, as all the Skyblivion resources are obviously inside the test 4 folder, but for now let's just go on with it. So inside this folder we need all this, and also of course the project. And Havoc files can also be read in a human readable form in XML, and this, for example, is the project file for the goblin, which states all of our animation and the goblin behavior with the character we created. And did I create two? Oh no, I just renamed, and this is an old one that should be used. Okay. We also need another file which is a bit tricky. This is contained inside the animation BSAs and also the DLC ones. Why? Because this is actually how the engine loads out the project. So here all the Havoc projects are stated, even if their extension is txt, which doesn't make sense, but I suspect it is not used. And without an entry here, our project would simply not be loaded and won't work. So even if we use the creature inside the construction kit or inside the game, we'll just assume the the T-pose for the skeleton and won't work. So here the entry that the tool has made for us, and let's see what does. Okay, so I won't delve inside the depths of this structure, but as you actually can see, this is quite complicated to do by hand, and that's why I had to create a tool for exporting this info. But now this should be good enough. So this is a unique file for each creature. So if you have to add more than one creature, you have to merge these. And this is also why for adding new animation you need some kind of generator that do the merge on this file. And that's why when you install, for example, FNIS animations, you have to run the FNIS generator, which will also amend and produce a file like this. This is not the only file we need, but for now it's good as it gets, as the other file is just related to attacks. We don't need it right now, and they have to be inside meshes. And also there's a folder animation data, because each project you have not only to have this single file, but also the same exact info in a strange format I won't indulge on inside here. So we merge and have also these two little files inside the animation data directory. Okay, and this should be good for actually testing what we have. So let's fire it, the creation kit, and see if the engine somehow digests what we need. By the way, well, I actually forget the easy part. Right now into the character asset we only have HKX. We also need another asset, which are NIF assets. Let's see. I want to explain how to actually export that, because there are tons of tutorials online on how to obtain at least the correct mesh. So I'm going to just take our mesh, and then we need a ragdoll skeleton, and that's why I had to mess even further with the plugin. Let's see. Okay, this is a complete skeleton on how it should be. So from NIF scope, you see there are capsules for the bones. These are these circles with this piece in evidence actually means the constraints of the skeleton, and this box is the bounding one. I don't know why, but even in the original skeleton the bounding box wasn't so precise. I'm going to check just in case. Let's see. There it is. You see, the position of the skeleton is actually different inside the Oblivion skeleton, because the one I have exported was in the idle position, while obviously the original skeleton was in T-pose, but that won't constitute a problem, and both the skeletons have a little offset from the ground, while the bounding box is correct. So we'll just ignore that. So let's take this and add to our assets. Okay, and now we need also the mesh, obviously. Let's see, I have it somewhere. Here it is. Oh, I already had it. Okay, so let's create a new Russia type. But for that to work, we need at least the Skyrim has loaded. Don't ask me why. I hope to have at least the things configured for using just the Oblivion Skyblivion is, but right now it's easier to work on vanilla Skyrim, because you know, you don't have any more cows inside this stuff. I think it's already a bit chaotic by itself. Let's see. And is still anybody here? Yeah, seems like it. I hope you're not sleeping, or just you know, maybe someone just killed himself by having to watch me doing this. I know it's boring, but it's the only way to actually create a new creature and put it inside Skyrim. Okay, here we are. So let's create a new race. But there are some info that need to be copied, so it's actually better to create a new race starting from an existing one. Let's take, for example, the farmer and change it to Goblin Race. We create a new form and now proceed to use our resources. So for the meshes we have our skeleton and we have our behavior graph. It says behavior graph, but it's actually the Havoc project here. And we need to create a skin, so let's hold on the preview right now. And for that we need two pieces actually. One is the armor add-on, and also here is better to use something that is already used, like the naked okay. I should just edit the existing one, but let's see. So our test for armor done, and this time our race is our new race. The biped object is good like this, and our biped model, it's no more the farmer, but yes, I don't have that, and I should of course fix the shader settings, but it's okay. So everything is loaded. And now we have our task for goblin, and we can do an armor. This is also very boring, but needs to be done. Let's search for the skins, which actually are armors. Here it is. Edit, and let's call it task force goblin, and set it to our race. And we also need a model for that, which is our armor add-on, and that's why we also need to do an armor add-on for our race to work and show the model. Yes, that's fine. So we can go back to our race now and use our skin, and obviously it doesn't work because it never does, but going to fix it because it's something in the NIF, I guess. Let's see. The mesh should not have the root node, so it's correct. What about the skeleton? And here is the problem, because the skeleton I've exported, it doesn't have the root bone named as it should. Okay. Now, yes, we can't actually do it because the construction kit already loaded the model as it was, so now it's getting a bit weird about that. So let's see if now works. And of course I didn't save any of the things I made, so I have to do it again. No, maybe the problem is just that I don't have the microphone really near me. So sometimes I get a little behind the microphone. I'm in doubt on how I renamed the skeleton. Let's see if I did it correctly. Obviously have a bunch of stuff for these already made. What about this? Okay, this seems to be correct. So even if the bounding box, okay, so this seems to be correct. So even if the bounding box isn't good, we can adjust that very easily directly underneath. So let's just use that instead. Okay, how about you? And again, let's do the Armoradon. Again, selecting mesh. Yes. You see, this was ill exported because it also has the ragdoll nodes in the meshes. Even if you can see them, this is not correct and should be exported without all this stuff. But maybe that's why it didn't work. Yes, I want to
a new form for that, and now the skin. This time we're doing this without having the race, so we'll have to do it again after making the race 2. And now the race. Our skeleton and our project. And select our skin. Yes, this time it's better to save this data before having to do it again another time. Now on our armor and armor add-on, we can select a new race. Here it is. Okay. Let's cross fingers here because this stuff is really boring. And okay, crash again. Nice. So the problem, I think it lies on the mesh. Let's see if we can fix it. Actually, seems quite correct. So I'll have to look at the assets we exported. This is the structure of our skeleton, and you see also the Havoc part has all the information necessary for the skeleton to work, and this is quite fine actually, as the NPC route and all together should work. What about our assets? I'm losing myself inside the folders, but here it is. This also seems to be correct. So what I forgot. This is fine. And wanted this. I should just delete the Havoc mesh, which is still referenced by the project, but it should not be used by Skyrim, and the fact that it's not present shouldn't be a problem. Let's see. No, I'm not replacing the Falmer. I'm actually doing another race, which is separate from it, kind of. If these things decide to work, because it's given me more problems than the usual. Not much problems, but a bit. I'm afraid that having the ragdoll inside the mesh, it's the main problem. Let's see if I have another mesh that I could use, which doesn't have this problem. These. So the skeleton is the same, so we should be able to use this as well, just in case. We go to our armor add-on to replace. Okay, seems fine as well. And let's erase now. Doesn't crashes, but doesn't show either, which is not a good sign. Maybe we have the right parameters here. I don't think this is correct for Skyrim. Yeah, that should be at least had. So this is very boring, but needs to be done. Actually, we had Shadowlink doing this work before, but I didn't get his latest pack, so I have to do it. But this is also informative for you guys if you ever attempt to do this, having something to troubleshoot, make it easier for the process to be made and get done. What is this? This is the cap, so steel head. Oh my god. Oh man, yeah, no, okay. Not so much. I can do it. Okay. Sure this is right part? Yes. Didn't I made a torso somewhere? No, okay. Everything is body as it should. Okay, this is not even a dismembered partition. I don't think the skin instance has the same information about which partition. This is the accessory. Yes. Let's be sure we're saving in the right folder. So. I don't think it's going to show because the NIF is already loaded and it won't load it again. And the creation kit is going to crash as usual and also corrupt my previous plugin. I'm sure of that. Oh god, did I press load instead of save? Hopefully the creation kit will also reload the NIF and show our correct model. Okay, yes, I was opening the plugin instead of saving, so that's not too bad, because this time the models get loaded again. We have our 30 and 32. So skin, skin should be tied to test for goblin race. Okay, and for the tests for goblin race, have to use this armor add-on, and also the armor add-on is not configured right, I bet, because it was not showing in for the race. Let's see. Now everything fits. Okay. And the race, finally. Okay. Whew. Finally, the race is configured and our skeleton is accepted by the engine, so we can create an actor for it. Let's take an existing one just in case. Encounter Falmer should be enough, but let's take the actor base for it and call it Test for Goblin. This time our race is the Goblin race, and also our skin. Let's just put it as nan. We won't mess with other things right now. Create a new form. Okay, save the plugin. Let's see. If the behavior is okay, traits also, yes. We see it. Let's see if the animation play. Yes. So, okay, our assets are good to go, and the project, as you can see, is working, even if there are some animation that weren't exported right. This may happen with KF file. And so I have to check each animation for this kind of error. The strange thing is that if you export it again, you get a good animation, 9 out of 10. So it's like there's something wrong with the KF part of the NEV plugin, but it's okay. So let's save this. Now we have to exit because we created an actor with the right race, and we have to load it again for the behavior to be correctly read. Yeah, we can't really have a precise release date right now because there's a lot of work to be done, and of course in this kind of projects we can't really time or have deadlines. Everything is done best effort, and that's the best we can do, or at least the best most of us can do. And hopefully right now also the behavior will be read by the creation kit with his time. Sadly my good CPU burnt out a while ago, so right now I'm going on with a kind of shitty CPU, and having all this stuff open really takes its toll. Okay, my microphone is a little low. I'm actually talking a bit low, I think, but it's on 0 dB right now, so I can do better. And let's see if yeah, our behavior showed up. So we actually have the project right configured. It's time to do a quick test in game. If my PC won't explode. Let's fire Old Dream and have our data file loaded. Okay, we don't need our Seal Strider, that's for another time. Even if Skywind team is waiting for my work as usual. Oh god, I forgot to switch in window mode. Let's do it again. What's with your ears? Have to silence also. I have to silence Skyrim as well. Are you hearing Skyrim music? Script extended. I was suspecting you were hearing Skyrim. Okay, now should be okay. And the window is so small I can't see, and I don't remember how to go up with this keyboard. I need a little more. I need a bigger window for this. Sorry, guys. That's better. Where are you? Okay, you're nicely idling, so the behavior is working. Of course, it won't do much right now other than idling, but the ragdoll is correct. As you can see, the blood spans and the heat seems okay, and the bounding box it's not correct. As you can see, I almost cannot pass around it, so that should be corrected. And let's see what happens if I do a kill. There are arrows raining. Okay, obviously it doesn't ragdoll right now, and doesn't have. Let's see if the spells also are working. Yes, the fire is working nicely. So everything is fine, apart from for the behavior, of course, because this is not behaved well. Okay, it's almost time to make a moving creature for it. But for that to happen, you'll have to wait for another stream, because right now I have to go, and we'll take up from here next time. Thanks for listening, guys, and obviously I hope also for looking at it, and thanks everyone. Bye.